everyone, I'm Charlotte and here is episode 12, Consistently Working on Art. So before we get into the video, I wanted to actually talk about the real irony behind the situation. The fact that I did not post for, I think 2 weeks, twice, and now we have this. But to be fully honest, after the 100-day challenge, it's been so hard to get back into drawing on an everyday basis. At the same time, I think the 100-day challenge, because it was so focused and very short term in terms of the other projects, it was doable, yes, but at the same time, you're more focused on finishing the project over really enjoying the process. Sure, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the process because I loved every moment of creating. Not every moment, most moments of creation. But at the same time, in retrospect, after that point, after the challenge got over, creating just became so hard because there's this constant need to keep up with the algorithm. Like, you know what I mean? Imagine posting for 100 days in 5 months, which was more or less 4 to 5 days a week. And then suddenly you have the innate nature to create that often because it becomes a habit at that point. But it's not sustainable at all because mentally you're just burnt out creatively. And so you just want to take a step back to retrospect, but now you feel bad because you're taking a break. And it's interesting because this is still just a hobby, and most of who are watching are still my friends and my relatives. Hi. But you get the point because there's no sense of monetization to it as well. It's like, why would you take it up so seriously in your mind, right? And so there's always the question of whether this investment of time would make sense, or am I just randomly posting 4 days a week for no reason? But here's the deal. Every time I come to this point of questioning, I realize that I love creating. I've talked to my mom about this, but the days when I don't create, you should see me. It's like the days I don't have coffee. It's sad. So, in a sense, it's essential to thrive through creation. And that's how I cope with life also, I think. I shared that with my mentors as well. But it's true. And so that's why it's so important to consistently work on art, right? And it's hard because there are a lot of external factors involved now. But in the sense, it's still free and I still enjoy this process. But I'm glad to be back. Honestly, this video is just a bit of a rant. I am so sorry. But in the sense, I wanted to bring about a realistic perspective on what it is to actually function as a creator. Obviously, there is webtoon creation, there's other art projects and other side quests that I do. But at the end of it, if you don't understand the purpose of why you do what you do, then you kind of become trapped in this cycle of just doing it. And in the long run, you can't sustain like that, especially if you're in a creative field, because your creative work reflects the intention of your life. And if you're not intentional enough, then obviously the work you put out there wouldn't be of good quality. And so that is something that I recently learned as well. But on screen, let's get back to that for a second. So on screen, this picture was drawn when I was going through the beginning of not being able to draw a lot. And so it just made sense that she's a little bit more nervous and she's unable to fully be confident while she's driving. And it's ironic because I'm also taking driving classes, so that also is there. But yeah, the previous piece was a stark contrast to that because it was a monochromatic piece, it was sharp, the character itself was confident, whereas in this piece she's not. So it also goes on to reflect who I am as an individual, I think. And that's beautiful. At the end of it, art does imitate life. And so a lot of these pieces, in sheer retrospection, I can find out that it's what I went through a course of something, or a particular thought that came to my mind. So yes, that is there. Also, at the same time, I just realized the previous thought was not fully phrased properly, but okay. My friends keep telling me that I can't stick to one thought, and I totally agree. But anyways, so where were we going with this? See what I mean? The struggle is so real. But just wanted to come on here and talk about this a little bit, because art is a beautiful expression like any other creative form, but it needs to be regulated. And in a way, if you're not intentional about what you're creating at all, it loses meaning. And so the way you can gain back intention is to do other things, one. Secondly, is to just take a step to retrospect. And third is to absorb the things around you and make observations on life. These three practical steps honestly help me to consistently work on my art. And it might take a longer time sometimes because the burnout is real. But in the long run, once you get back to understanding why you do what you do, it really fuels the process. So yes, that's all I have for today. You can follow me on Charlotte_Pourquoi for more behind the scenes and more art. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!